Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you guys have nice, full tummies and are ready for a great afternoon. So I was not going to let Megan introduce herself, although she wanted to introduce herself, but that is just silly. It's silly. So can we first give her a huge round of applause because she did it. You are all here because she took a huge leap and created her very first women's event that has been on her heart for so long. I am so incredibly proud of you. Yes. So a little bit about her. About a year ago, she got this stirring inside of her that it was time for her to move on to the next path that God had for her. With that change, she started a new business that caters to the adoption and foster community, as well as making it her mission to make every woman know that they matter. Hence her boutique name, You Matter Boutique. She is also an incredible writer and has a blog on her website. I bet you didn't know that. And if you sign up for her email list, it comes right to your inbox every week. And then when I couldn't think she could add any more to her plate, she started a podcast, the Megan May podcast, and it is one of my favorites, but I might be a little biased. She is a wife to Jake, a loving mama to 4 beautiful kids, and an amazing daughter and friend to so many. I need a little help, though, to finish out my introduction. Jada, will you come up here?
So my mom worked really hard to put on this event to show all women how much they matter in this world. And I am super proud of you and all that you have accomplished. I'm really proud to call you to be your daughter. Please welcome Megan May to the stage.
Love you. That is why I said I was introducing myself. So thank you. The worst. Okay, so, well, obviously we've met. I'm Megan, and if I point here, because I do not know my north, south, east, and west very well, I don't know if anyone could relate to that, but if I point my hand like this way, I live about 6 miles out of town this way. And I live out in the country. We've had several animals. We've had goats for a very short time. We've had chickens. We had a dog for a very short time. We're not dog people. We have a couple cats that are nowhere near have the life of Lindsay's cats. And we have a lot of beef cows. We had a lot of beef cows. And so we live out in the country. And if I point my hand from here to here, this is where I grew up, in the town of Browerville. Some of you may or may not have heard of that tiny town. It's a little over 700 people and a whole lot of Amish buggies going around that town. And so a little fun fact about me, when I was growing up, I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I moved back home after college, and I kind of had this vision and this stirring in my heart to go live in the big city. I was kind of done with the small town. And so I really was like, I want to go to the big city. And not just any big city, I wanted to go to New York. New York City. I wanted to live in the 2x2, multi-million-dollar little apartment. I wanted good food on every single block of everywhere you go. I wanted no yard, because what a waste of time is to take care of a yard. And most importantly, I really didn't want any kids. I knew that if I wanted to live in New York City and open up a salon, because I did hair, that I knew that wouldn't be a lifestyle for kids. So that was kind of my plan. And then something happened. This knight in shining armor came rolling in a Chevy pickup truck. His name was Jake. And I became pretty smitten with Jake. And so Jake and I got starting to see each other. We were dating, and I remember being on a date with him, and I was like, hey, since we're talking about all the things and I love you so much, guess what? I do not want any kids. I actually had enough of kids in my life. My mom did daycare most of my childhood through my early teens, and I had enough kids. The, dirty noses, the dirty diapers, the loud house. I was good. I had my fill. And I remember Jake looking at me, and he was like, oh man, like, I've only ever seen myself with kids. Like, I've never seen myself not having kids, not having a family. His grandma had 16 kids, so like he came from a big family. And you know what? I really like Jake. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll have one kid because you want kids and I want you, so we'll do one. So Jake and I dated fast. We got engaged. We got married on the beautiful rainy day of October 2009. And one kid turned into two. And I was like, I'm good. We got 2 kids, 2 parents, 2 hands. Like, we are good. Jake and God said, no, we're not. And I was pregnant with my 3rd. And so during that pregnancy, it was actually a horrible pregnancy. I had a lot of complications. I knew we were going to have a C-section. And so when I had the C-section scheduled, I sat Jake down again and I was like, hey, guess what? I think we really need to be done, and I'm going to have my inner lady parts taken out during the C-section, so we are good. 3 is good. And so it's funny because when we were talking about it, he's like, nope, I agree. 3's good, we're good. And then I said, because of if for some crazy reason that God thinks we need to have any more kids, that we're already qualified here, it doesn't need to be our blood. And you guys, guess what? Out of all the millions of women in the world, at that moment, in that time, God was like, oh, okay. Just listening to me. Like, oh, good to know. Because guess what? 6 years later, well, this is what my family looks like. So this is my family of 6. 4 kids. You'll see that handsome, bald-headed guy up there. That's Jake. He had a lot more hair back in the day, but we have 4 kids, so that makes sense. Obviously, there's me. And then our oldest daughter, Jada, which you've seen her here, her pretty face. So she is our oldest. I am super thankful for her because she is the old soul. She has such a big heart, and she keeps our household organized. She also is going to be a teenager in a couple of months, so pray for us because that's a whole new season that we get to deal with. And then the guy over there in the glasses, that's our son, Asen. He just turned 10, and he has a big imagination, and he loves to collect junk. I kind of love it because he also has this really sweet heart, and if Jake is gone somewhere, Asen becomes the man of the house, and he'll hold the doors open for me and make sure that I'm okay, and I just always hope that he does that for me, and most importantly, does it for his wife someday. And then the little guy at the bottom there, that's Lennon, Lenny Benny Boo Boo. We rarely call him Lennon. That guy is a spitfire. He's witty. He has the best one-liners that he can just spit out at you. And Lennon, he's very, very smart, and he loves really a lot. If you have kids, or he'll be in your face, and he's like, oh, you're just so cute, I love you. It's a lot, and we're always like, Lennon, people have bubbles, and they need some space here, and Lennon doesn't care. And then the youngest there, that is Marin, our 2-year-old daughter. And that girl is sassy. She is independent. And Jake and I cannot figure out if we're too old to have kids this young, or if she is just that busy. She's so busy. She is, like I said, strong and independent, and we just know she's gonna do really big things in this world. We just gotta pray through it to get her there, to guide her in the right direction. So as you can see, my family is a bit unique, and it is, because 3 of my babies grew in my tummy, and our youngest daughter grew in my heart through a journey of adoption. And today, I'm not gonna quite get into how I even got to venture into an adoption journey. But if we're giving out shameless plugs, if you head on to the Meg and May podcast, episodes 6 and 7, I explained to you how the heck that we even got started and into an adoption journey. But I do want to share with you today a piece of our story while we were on our journey. And I'm going to disclose that every journey is so beautiful and it's so different in its own way. And never in a million years did I think adoption would be part of our family. But you know what? I never thought I'd be living in the country with a big yard with a bunch of kids and not doing hair anymore. And so I find out, I'm learning, and I find out in life that God's plans, they're always bigger and better. So I didn't grow up having a super strong faith, even though my parents were actually very involved in the church. That growth only happened to me a few years ago when I had a friend. I was going through a hard time, and a friend asked me to church. And if I could be really honest with you, do you know why I went to church? It's because they served coffee during the service. And if you've seen on my slides up there, I love coffee. And I was like, what? You can have coffee during the service? Are you kidding me? So I came because of coffee. I came, at the time, I was a mess. Like I said, I was going through a really hard season of my life. I was a people pleaser. I was a worrier. And let me clarify, that wasn't a warrior where you can fight and you're strong and confident. I was a worrier. I was full of anxiety. I was scared. I grew up with a very worried, extended family. We were just nervous and worried about everything. So I came with a lot of the world's weight on my shoulders. I had no idea what my gifts were, what my talents were, what my strengths were, but I could list you every weakness that I had. God knew that when he started to get to know me and I started to get to know him and I gave him a chance, he knew that he had a lot of work to do in me to make me come along, to lessen my load and lessen my worry in life. And I don't know if you guys remember the year of 2020. Some of you might remember that year or not. But that is the year this little girl started weighing on my heart. And I would have these very vivid visions that would just come at random times and random moments and random days of this little girl. And she started to weigh on my heart for actually almost a whole year before we even said yes to the journey. I guess God truly meets us where we're at, and he knew that he would have to hit me over the head to get me to go on this journey because I literally have the attention span of a squirrel. You know, squirrel, they're like, doo, 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 doo. My brain can go from any all these thoughts in any direction, any moment, any time. Anyone can relate? I actually self-diagnosed myself with ADD. And I love that quality about me, but sometimes it can be a really big burden, like when you're trying to write a speech 2 days before an event. ADD is not a strength. So anyway, back in 2020, I would experience the same vision at random times, and it always came back to this little girl with big brown eyes and dark curly hair and a skin tone that did not match mine. Now, for months, while that vision kept coming, it scared me. And I would discard it, I'd laugh about it, I'd sometimes think I was going crazy, or I'd let it go. Looking back, that vision was the very first time that girl started to grow in my heart. So when our family finally said yes to the adoption journey, we started presenting our family. We went through the daunting paperwork, and I guess you can have 3 kids, but you have to get approved to have another child. My house was never so clean. We had fire extinguishers. We had there was outlets, or our outlets had covers on them for the first time. I mean, we got 3 kids through it, but that 4th needs a little extra. So, we went through, we got approved, and we were ready to present. And so we started presenting to cases of all different kinds of race, all different kinds of children, because we decided that we were going to trust the journey that we were scared to walk in. I also knew that we would shock the world when we announced that we were adopting. As I mentioned before, didn't want any kids. We actually shocked the world when I told him I was pregnant with my third. I shocked myself so much that I threw that pea stick right at my husband's head. That was it. He said that if, like, you asked Jake, he was like, I thought you seen a ghost coming into our room, and then I just had, like, something whip me over the head, and I was like, whoa. And so we shocked the world because all of a sudden we were having 3 kids. So I knew that when we announced that we were adopting a child, it would really shock the world. And I also knew, as a people pleaser and a worrier, I also knew that I'd have to really guard my heart because I would take on the opinions of others so deeply. I also want to mention that when we said yes, it was right after the George Floyd incident. And with coming off of COVID, things were really ugly. There was fights about race and opinion and vaccines. Like, our world at the time was, like, really ugly, and Minnesota was really, really ugly. So when we came out that we were adopting, during our journey, my husband and I would get comments like, oh my gosh, what are you guys thinking? You're gonna bring a child of color into your small town? Or, that poor child, your community will never accept them. Your family, it's already so perfect, why would you wreck that? Do you even know what it takes to raise a child that's not yours? You guys, these were the comments that we got. And even more than that, we started receiving Snapchats or screenshots of people like that I hardly even knew, or in a neighboring town, that commented some racial slur or snapped something stupid that like had something to do with racism or anything. And we get those snaps sent to us saying, and you're going to raise a child in this. You're going to do this. First of all, squirrel moment, your social media and the platform that you have on your device, it's important. And it's important that you steward that well. Because when you're on a rant, if you don't believe something, people are watching. And you have no idea how that affects somebody else. Those people that did those snaps, that sent that wrote those things, have no idea how it hurt my heart. Anyway, rant over, okay? So anyway, even though we never discussed race outside of my very inner circle, I also knew what was growing on my heart. And even though I very much knew that God could change the course, He could change the directory of our journey, I also very much trusted that vision. And at the time, the world started to tell me to stop, to not go through with it, that I was inadequate, incapable of it, and unqualified for it. Although my husband and I did have amazing support from our immediate family and very close friends, the negative voices, they were louder. They were so loud, you guys. Negative voices, they like stay with you and they linger in your heart and they just like stay with you over and over. You can hear something positive and that negative voice just stays. You can have someone say, hey girl, I like your haircut. And you're like, hey, thanks. But then you go back to 4th grade when that girl said that haircut that you got by your mom was hideous. And granted, my mom did take a ruler to my bangs, and she missed she was like this. And so, yes. So, my mom's in the crowd. Yes. So, 1/2 inch, 2 inches, that girl was right. It was a hideous haircut, and I did not get my hairdressing genes from my mom, everyone. She was right, but she should have kept her mouth shut. That's how loud the negative voices can stay with you. And at the time, man, they were so loud. And they not only got to me, but they started to get to my husband. And so when we would receive a case of a child with any ethnicity of background, we'd be like, we're going to pass on it. We're going to pass because, well, we're white. We're not qualified. We live in a horrible small town. And we have no qualifications to raise a baby of color. Squirrel moment, not all children that are adopted are of color, just so you know. But that is just kind of what everyone felt at the time. So I remember going home one day and I was feeling super discouraged. I was like wallowing in my own pity. I know I had a choice word with God. And that's a fun thing about God is he'll take your yelling and he'll take like, why did you do this to me? Why did you put me here? My family was perfect. We were comfortable. We were good. It was safe. It was good. Like, why am I here? What is this? And I was like wallowing in my own pity. And I remember sitting on my couch and I just took a deep breath, and across my living room was a 16 by 20 picture of my family of 5. And you guys, it was perfect. It was a perfect picture. We were all with matching outfits. We all had perfect smiles. I made sure our hair all looked good because that professional photographer, she had to take 100 photos to get that one living room wall worthy picture, but it was perfect. And then I started to really look at it. And then I realized, man, we are not blended at all in this picture. Actually, my husband and I could be categorized as polar opposites. My husband's an introvert, he's a perfectionist, he's quiet, calm, safe, careful with his words. Me, I'm not so much. I'm an extrovert, I'm a wild card, I think out loud while I'm brainstorming, and I'm anything but calm. My kids, they're also very different. My gosh, you get a first kid and you're like, I read all the books. Heck, I could even write a book about that girl. I knew everything about her, all the things. I got this parenting under control. Had another one, man, he slapped me in the face with a whole new set of dreams and personality, and they wrestle. Boys break stuff all the time, And then if you're crazy enough to have a third kid like I was, they just blast you with a whole new set of personality and qualifications, and you're like, where did this kid come from? My kids are all so very different. And so I had to think if God's plan was for our family to look blended, we are not blended at all. And this girl that I see, she's supposed to stand out in this world, just like all my other kids are too as well. Our family is not meant to stay in the same box because that box is really small. Had I not had that moment and that time and that realization, you guys, we would not have our daughter today. Our family stands out, and not just by color. They stand out by their abilities, their talents, their personalities, their weaknesses, and their strengths, and their gifts that they've been given. So my question for you today is, how often do you hold back from the goals and dreams of who you truly are because you allow the negative voices and opinions of others to be louder? How often do you shrink back into that box that others are telling that you need to stay in? For some of you in the room, you're like, girl, I hopped out of that box a long time ago. I know my path. But for many of you like me, I needed to start calling out and believing in my ability and that I was made for more than the opinions of others. As you know, in your bag, you have a notebook and a pen, and if you took that notebook and pen out, would you be able to list your gifts and talents? Would you be able to list your strengths? Because let me tell you, I hated that question. When they're like, girl, what are you good at? I don't know, but I could tell you everything I'm bad at. I could tell you all the negative things. I could instantly tell you that I was a people pleaser. I could instantly tell you that I was a nervous Nelly, had anxiety through the roof. I could instantly tell you that I have focus problems. I could instantly tell you that my attention to certain detail really does suck. I could instantly tell you that I talk too much sometimes. And I could instantly tell you that I wasn't smart enough, good enough, capable enough to do the things I felt called to do in my life. But on the flip side, I could look at my husband, I could look at my kids, my best friend. Heck, I could look at this random stranger in town and be like, she's amazing. She's here's her gifts, here's her strengths. I could be your biggest cheerleader. But for myself, man, I had no idea. It was a question I hated. The world, you guys, is full of input. It is full. We carry input of others with us every day. You carry it when you open up your phone. You carry it when you walk out your door. When you become vulnerable or you step out of the side of the box, man, people are not afraid to give you input. People are not afraid to sit behind a device and tell you something about you. They're not. And you know what? We believe it. We hold those people, sometimes that we don't even know, to such a high standard. Like they matter most in this world. An exercise I do want to challenge you with, is that I think it's very important that when you leave here today, because, yeah, I think it's important. You can go home and light one of those good-smelling candles for Marissa, but I want you to get quiet. I want you to get quiet, and I want you to start listening to your heart and what your heart is telling you, what your gifts are, what you're good at, what your strengths are. Better yet, if you don't want to write it down, guess what? You have a dry erase marker in your bag too. And I love dry erase markers. I want you to write those things on your mirror. I want you to write your spouse's strengths on his mirror. I want you to write your kids' strengths on their mirror. Because let me tell you, it's really hard to see your strengths. And if you don't know that, if you don't know your strengths and what you're good at and what gifts you have been given, you need to. It matters. It matters. Those things you feel in your heart, guess what? They won't be for everybody in this world. You won't be for everybody in this world. But I promise you, when you hone in on who your Creator created, He will also provide you the audience. He will provide you the mentorship that you need. He will provide you the friendships. He will provide you and equip you with everything you need to go after it. If I told you every last detail that was ordained for our daughter to get to us and us to get to her, you guys, it would seem impossible. But I had the easy job. All I had to do was say yes and trust and believe in myself, which was actually the hardest job. But beyond that, He did the rest. Once that happened, He did the rest, and before you know it, that's our family. You see, I was adequate, capable, and qualified in His eyes. And once I started believing that, we're a family of 6, a loud, crazy house family of 6. And not only did He equip me to raise a child who was a different color than us, He equipped my other kids as well. He is also using my gifts and my talent and my platform to soften the hearts of our own family, of our community, and other lives around us that I would consider to be probably pretty narrow-minded people. I've sat at a bonfire when I had one of the most narrow-minded person from our town holding my colored child. And let me tell you, it was a moment I won't forget. It was beautiful. All this happened, you guys, because I continue to stay out of the box. I continue to shut down the negative voices, which is sometimes a daily practice. And I continue to walk the path that He has set for me. You are too valuable to not know your worth. Your gifts given to you, they're too good to not be used in this world. And I truly believe that if we start confidently believing in who we were meant to be, we will start to see such a change, you guys. We will start to see women rooting on for one another versus tearing each other down. We will start to see more dreams come true. We will start to see more women rising up in this space. We will start to see more testimonies being shared. We will start to see more confident leaders, and we will start to see the next generation learning from us and even doing it better. The negative voices, they're going to be diminished because that cheering section is so dang loud. It's so loud. You're going to see more hype girls in the crowd. Instead of the ones like slouched over saying, I cannot wait to have coffee with my friends tomorrow and tell them that I wasted this $40 in my Saturday on some women's event that was crazy. We're going to have hype girls rooting each other on. Yes, yes. When you start believing that we are not meant to all fit in the same box and mold and confidently start believing in you, I can't even imagine the change in this world. I can't even imagine someone going on an adoption journey and feeling nothing but love and support. I can't even imagine some woman starting a business and her biggest cheerleader is someone in the same exact industry. I can't even imagine someone deciding to leave their corporate job to go be a stay-at-home mom with their babies and feeling nothing but love and support. I can't even imagine someone walking through these doors with a messy life, dressed the wrong way, feeling unworthy, and she's getting loved on and rooted so hard that she could be the next Oprah Winfrey. I can't even imagine, you guys. It starts with us. It starts with us. It starts on that notebook or on your mirror. It starts with knowing who you are and believing it. And believing it. You don't have to be a Bible expert to know this. Guys, I can't quote a quote from the Bible. I got a tattoo on my body. That's how I remember. It's like, oh, what was that again? That was my verse. I don't have the right sleeves. You guys are tight. I have to tattoo them on me. I'm no Bible expert. It's a goal, but if you have attention span of a squirrel, it's really hard. So you got to put them on you. Put them on your mirror. He meets you where you're at, in whatever season you are at. But the thing you also have to be okay knowing is that girl next to you, she won't have the same thing. She won't have the same gifts. It's not going to be the same as yours. She wasn't made like you. She was made uniquely different with a different box and a different audience that God is going to give her. And that's a good thing. It's a really good thing. You just get to concentrate on you, and you get to simply love and root for her. She won't be for everybody, but she is sure going to make a big dent in this world in her own way, and it's going to be different than yours. We need to spread out. We need to reach more. We need to encourage more, and we won't do that if we stay in the same box. I know we're starting to run out of time here, but I do want you to open up that notebook. I know we're making you take all these notes today. But in the back of that notebook, you're going to see a Post-it. Because one thing I love a little bit more than dry erase markers is Post-its. And I'm going to have Aaron play a song. And what we are going to do is I want you to write on that Post-it any negative thought. I want you to write like something someone said to you that you're holding on to, something that's stopping you from what you're meant to do in this world. I want you to write any negative thought. And I am such a very visual person. And so what we're going to do, I'm not going to read them. You don't have to write your name on them, although I would love to read some of these because I think that we carry a lot of weight. We carry a lot of weight on us. But I'm going to collect these Post-its, and I'm going to bring them up here, and I'm going to light a match, and I'm going to start a fire. Just kidding, Josiah, I'm not going to do that. Just kidding. He's like, oh my gosh, do not burn down the church. But I am going to bring them up here because it's going to symbolize something. It's going to symbolize that we're leaving them here. You see, negative thoughts, negative things said about you, they don't come from God. They come from enemy. They come from people. They are not from God. So I want you to take a little time and I want you to write them down.
Just not enough. You've been so
When you're done with your Post-it, I want you to come up and put them in these buckets here. Gonna make you guys do the work this time. Getting smarter here. You guys, look at what we carry. These, they don't come from God. We're done carrying them. These are a lot of Post-its. I didn't really practice this part, but because I kind of did want to start a fire up here and burn it, but we're not taking them with us today. You don't need to carry that. You need to know how much you matter. You matter to me. You matter to people out there. Like Marissa said, there's people watching you. There's people that need you. There's people that need you to say yes. And if you don't, you missed it for them. Do you know why we went on an adoption journey, other than like he hit me over the head too many times with it? Because I believe that some person was out there praying for us to say yes. And if we didn't, we missed her prayer. I can't even imagine my life if we didn't say yes. I can't even imagine the lessons that I have learned along the way. I thought it was just to get her, but he pushed me and he pulled me and he strengthened me and he used really hard times and hard conversations and all that. He used that to make me who I am today. I am thankful that when we said yes, even though I was like, I'm sure when we said yes, this adoption is going to happen like first, right away, because I'm obedient. He needed me to do the work. He needed to work in me. He needed for me to believe in me. Because he knew after we got her would be a whole nother set of heart in my life and navigating life with an adopted child. So today, I am rooting for you, and you matter. And I encourage you to start believing in yourself, because it matters. Just by you coming here today, you knew the title of this event. That start, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I'll squeeze you if I could, but there's kind of a lot of you. So yes, I am taking these with me. And when you leave those doors, you're not leaving with any of that anymore. And when your mind goes back to whatever you wrote on this, you stop it. You stop it. There's too much for you in this world. There are people depending on you. You need to stop. Thank you for coming here.